Because as per this hadith, so yang ni I'm going to just repeat again so it becomes clear. Yang iPad ni, yang ni, this regards to bad deeds. Okay, rival. Okay, we're not talking about good deeds. We're not talking about praising. Because when it comes to praising, it's a different issue altogether. Kita pakai hadith ni. Now I'm going to read one of the most interesting commentary. I in a way, I macam tak berapa agree. But since it is mentioned by scholars, I have to share. Okay, let me find. It is actually a statement of Imam Nawawi. Okay, Imam Nawawi has a lot of statements regarding this. Imam Nawawi, okay, when he made this, this is from Sahih Muslim, man. Okay, so this narration is from Sahih Muslim, correct? So Imam Nawawi has a commentary, okay, for Sharh Muslim, which is called Minhaj. Al-Minhaj fi Sharh Ma fi Sahih Muslim Ibn Hajjaj. That is the name of the book. When it comes to this particular statement, Imam Muslim has an interesting discussion, has an interesting statement. When I read it, I almost disagree, but alam, I'll just share with you what he says regarding this. He says, I'll write it down, and I paraphrase, and apologize due to my lack of my bad skills in translation. So Imam Nawawi says, okay, so this is Imam Nawawi in his book Al-Minhaj. Okay, and this is addressing this particular hadith and this particular statement. He whom you praise in good terms, paradise has become certain for him. He says there are two opinions. Sekarang baru betul. Because I bila tak jumpa my notes, I menggelabah. So when I find my notes, I'm a bit more relaxed. He says, there are two opinions. Opinion number one, أن هذا الثناء بالخير لمن أثنى عليه فكان ثناؤه مطابقا لأفعاله فيكون من أهل الجنة. He says that if the praise coincides with his actions, then he becomes an inhibitor of paradise. If the praise is not in accordance to his actions, then there's no paradise for him. Ni clear? So what An-Nawawi is trying to say here is that the praise is insignificant. Okay, the praise is inconsequential if the praises does not match the actions. So this is the first opinion. Okay, he says there are two opinions. So number one says that what is this statement trying to say? He whom you praise in good terms, paradise has become certain for him. He says that this particular hadith you need to understand. He says that if the praises meets the expectations of the actions of the person, kalaulah orang tu memang betul, soleh, the person is righteous, okay, the person is good, the person is pious, then when you praise him and he enters heaven, then that makes sense. Because your praises and the person's actions tally. Hence, paradise becomes certain for him. But if the praises and the actions do not tally, people praise lah. You say whatever people praise pun. People praise. That he's good, he's so, but his action does not tally. He says that, going back to this particular formula, he says, tak boleh. Paradise cannot be certain for him. So he says that the praises has to tally with the action. So this is opinion number one. It means that the praises does not bring much value or does not carry much weight. And this is what he's trying to say. Praises there does not mean that it's going to be beneficial. The second opinion, Imam An-Nawawi says, praises can be beneficial. And it carries weight. Either the actions match. Interesting. Because this is what I'm reading this. I feel a bit interesting. I mean, I would say I disagree, but he has a very interesting perspective based upon the hadith. He says the actions, either they match or they do not match the praises. Interesting. So he says this. So he explains. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has فَأَلْهَمَهُمْ. Use the alhama here. Allah inspire people to praise. So it is what you see. For example, if you see a scholar, right? For example, late scholars that has passed us, that has passed or have went before us, right? And you see people datang solat jenazah ramai-ramai. People say this scholar is this, praise him. People say this scholar has great contribution, so and so and so. Allah has inspired these people to praise him simply because the actions match the praises. Allah inspire people to praise because Allah knows that his place, his actions meet the praises, hence paradise or heaven is upon him. Allah yang inspire people to praise because Allah knows that his actions and the praises they tally. What is also interesting is if you see many people praise, okay, this is the second one. And if you see many people praise, but it does not tally the person's action. Imam Nawawi says this. This is very interesting. He says, فَإِذَا أَلْهَمَهُمُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ النَّاسِ أَثَّنَ عَلَيْهِ استدللنا بذلك على أنه سبحانه وتعالى قد شاء المغفر له. It gives us an indication that, well, doesn't tally. But Allah inspires people to praise him is an indication, I use the word indication, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven the person and hence he goes to heaven. Ini interesting. This is very interesting. So he says this, فَبِهَذَا تُظْهَرُ فَائِدَةُ الثَّنَاءِ. And due to this, the benefits of praises is made clear. So what Imam An-Nawawi is trying, I repeat myself again. Say based on the second opinion, he says, if the praises tally the actions, fine. And that is what Allah subhanahu has inspired people to praise. Allah inspired people to praise because why? His actions is testimony to it. Masuk syurga, orang yang memang baik. And Allah ilhamkan, Allah inspires people to praise him because why? This test is indication that he is good, he'll enter heaven. But what about when people praise a person, but his actions does not tally? Orang puji, tapi nampak amal tak berapa best sangat. Imam An-Nawawi says that it might be an indication because people are praising him. It must be something good about the person because people are praising him in thrones. There must be something good. But you know, well, the person also does something bad. And this is the power of deeds. This is the power of rewards. This is the power that everything belongs to Allah subhanahu. Allah judges based upon his own manner, his own judgment system, based on his own wisdom. To Allah Allah yang he's the one who rewards. Kadang-kadang amalan sikit, tapi amalan sikit tu kadang-kadang pahala dia besar. Kita tak tahu, right? But you see people praising him. So Imam An-Nawawi says that this is an indication that he might be forgiven because people are praising him. So the praises of people for a person which might not tally his actions, ada benda baik, ada benda jahat, but the signs of people praising him is an indication that Allah has forgiven him, and because of Allah's forgiveness, heaven. So Imam An-Nawawi produces two opinions. And he is discussing this statement. Because it cannot be that. It cannot say that when the Prophet says, whom you have praised in good terms, paradise has become certain for him. It means that there is benefit to praises. There is benefit. So Imam Nawawi argues, he says there are two opinions. So opinion number one says that tak boleh. How could, if a praise and actions tally good, but it does not tally, how could a person enter paradise? It doesn't make sense. So the first opinion says your praises has to tally, has to be in accordance to the actions. Another opinion says that praises can be beneficial. It may be when it tallies, makes sense, or even if it does not tally, because if it does not tally, it gives an indication that the person might be forgiven. I'm just going to put this here because this is what Imam Nawawi says, jadikan this particular narration. So what it tells us, this is okay, I mentioned di awal-awal. What it tells us is that whenever a person passes away, despite whatever condition that the person is, always try our very best to speak good about the person because it may have certain effect on the person. It may have certain benefits on the person. Again lah, it's your right. I'm thinking because it's your right. Because kadang-kadang, if you know the person is maybe to you personally, you have certain disagreements, discontentments. The person might hurt you in a way or another. And you cannot bring yourself to speak good about the person. Fine. It's your right. It's your right. But do not bring yourself to say something bad. That's it. That's my recommendation whenever I teach this particular topic. I always say this. Kalau tak ada benda yang baik tak cakap to a person, don't say anything at all. And I mentioned this over and over again. Do you know what is one of the greatest deeds? One of the greatest deeds is to forgive a person.